Yeah, millions,
So,
right?
I don't know. I'm saying
Zillions.
we know, Father.
Infinite number of them.
You trying to judge God.
I'm not judging God, I'm judging your concept.
No, you're not judging.
That's what your concept
My concept
implies.
is from Revelation. In the Revelation, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost proceeding from God, from the Father. The Son proceeds from the Father.
When
the
did he
Holy
proceed?
Spirit. But Jesus said that. We believe.
When did he proceed? At what point in time? From eternity or some point in time?
Father has always been there. So Son has,
So the
Son
Father-
has always been with the Father.
So Father and Son has always been there, right?
They've always been.
Is the Son dependent on the Father for proceeding?
See, you asking me questions that I don't know.
But you do know.
No, I
The
don't
answers
know.
are he is
All I can
dependent
tell you is-
or he's not dependent.
All I can tell you is.
You know the answer, but you don't like
I
it.
don't know the answer.
You do.
What do
Shall I
mean?
tell you why?
Okay, see, you know why that's a wrong? It's a complex question.
Shall I tell you why you do?
You know why that's a complex question? When you talk about God's nature,
From the scripture.
you're talking about God's nature, what's happening within
No,
God.
from the scripture. Not from our mind, from the scripture. So if you
so
believe,
now you're changing your question.
I have never
That's what I'm
changed.
saying.
I've always said
saying
you
your
bring your
question-
scripture always to
So
explain your
That's
concept.
what I'm saying. Your question was a complex
So you're not
question.
concentrating what I'm saying. Bring your scripture to talk about your God. So if you have,
I am saying your question is a complex question.
so what?
Yeah, but your scripture should be able to
No.
answer his complex questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can your scripture answer a complex question?
But that
Thank
is
you, my
why
friend.
It is not the complex question has two components. You have to separate them.
Do you have an answer to this complex question?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what the complexity is. Then I will explain to you how it is answered. I will answer that. Yeah,
Go ahead.
ask me the question. Again,
Okay.
dependent. God is dependent.
Is the Son dependent on the Father for him to proceed from him?
Son in his essence before he becomes Jesus Christ.
I'm not talking about
He's
before the.
not-
Remember,
he's not dependent.
our question is before the creation of this world.
The word dependent, I'm not even sure it applies to God. I'm not even sure.
So the Son is independent of the Father.
See, I'm saying this language because God is three in one, one in three. He is a unity in diversity and diversity in unity.
You are happy to use unity, diversity, multiplicity, but when I talk about to making sense, dependence and independence. Okay, is God in totality independent?
Get used to unity and
Okay,
diversity.
can I ask you this question? God in its entirety and totality, in his unity, in your belief, is he independent?
See, again, it's a independent from what?
Anything.
So there is no anything there. God alone exists. How can you ask that question? See, you don't understand the concept.
If there is nothing there, then he's totally independent. Do you not agree?
But the word independent means something else then.
It means not dependent on anything.
Self-existent. It simply means
No.
self-existent.
Independent means not dependent on anything.
You're confusing words. You
Hang
don't
on.
understand.
So
God is
wait.
self-existent.
Excuse me. What does the word independent mean in the English language?
That's for us, for creaturely.
Now, what does the word mean?
Independent does not apply to God.
What does the word mean?
It means we are independent is like, I am independent of you.
Now, what does it mean, independent?
You tell me what I am. I'm not.
You are happy to tell me logical fallacies I'm committing, but you don't even know what independent means?
All I'm saying is it's
Okay,
not
what does
applicable.
dependent mean and what does independent mean?
You lost your argument.
Excuse me, Jacob.
You lost
Be
your
fair, be
argument.
fair. What does independent mean and what does dependent mean? In the English language.
Just to let you know, independent from the dictionary is free from outside control, no subject to another authority.
This
Right.
is applicable to creation.
Hang on, is God independent?
I'm saying it's not applicable to God because God is self-existent. You don't use the word dependence and independence on God. You don't use that language.
Is
It's
God,
almost blasphemous
why did God say that?
because you're bringing him in as a.
Now, I know the problem that you have in Christian theology using these words. Where did God say that in your scripture? You can't use independency.
Blasphemy is that which makes God less. When you say is he independent, you're answering my question. If I say yes or no, it will lessen God in either way.
You lessen your concept of God. Not mine, your concept of God.
I'm saying-
That's why you're not willing to use it. So now I understood.
Use
a debater like yourself, you've been learnt and taught to debate. When it goes against your Christian theology, that's saying you can't use it on God.
So if that's correct, then why did Jesus ask the Father?
You really need to open up your heart and mind to Jesus Christ.
Is Jesus Christ
He will really make you
worthy of worship?
Yeah,
Is he?
yeah.
What makes him worthy of worship? Is he independent God?
Jesus said,
Because any being who requires or worthy of worship.
Jesus is God become man.
One second, I'll tell you who's worthy of worship. This is not worthy of worship. This is not worthy of worship.
know that?
Your bottle is not worthy of worship. You are not worthy of worship. So I'll tell you why. A being who is worthy of worship has to be absolute, independent, perfect, free from any wants, defects, or imperfections. That is a being who is absolutely perfect. Is Jesus absolutely perfect?
What he reveals, he's perfect in that.
Is he absolute? Is he absolutely independent?
So, what I'm saying is,
Answer the question. Is Jesus absolutely independent? Otherwise, he disqualifies to be a being or an object worthy of worship.
complex question.
Oh, now it's a complex question.
When you
Learn
say-
the tricks.
When Jesus reveals himself to you as God, he's not. You can't use that. You can't use that then.
I'm asking you again. Is he absolutely independent?
Jesus, the man,
Not man. Forget creation. You believe he is worthy of worship. Is he absolutely independent?
you're talking about Jesus Christ. Jesus is
Clearly.
God man. He is dependent upon the Father, and
Then he's not worthy of worship. Khalas.
because that's a complex question.
No, it's not complex. It's easy. So if you believe someone who's
I
dependent,
know the problem.
the problem
You will
is
never-
you want to worship someone who's dependent on something else.
Jesus is worthy of.
Is Jesus dependent for his own existence on anyone else?
Jesus is the Son
Okay.
become human.
I'm going to ask you a very complex question now. Very complex. Is Jesus dependent on anyone for his own existence? Or is he self-existent?
Jesus is, as a human being, he's dependent.
Not human being. Forget human being.
Jesus is here. What are you talking about?
The Son of God.
What? They just talk about Son of God?
Yes, the Son of God, is he dependent on anyone for his own existence?
No.
So he's independent.
He's out of the Father.
So he's independent.
The word doesn't apply to the Son of God. It word applies
You know what?
only.
I can't speak to you in English.
I know. No,
Sorry,
no.
because
You don't
it doesn't apply.
You don't
English doesn't
understand.
apply with you. English language doesn't apply.
You don't understand the
I,
conceptual
no.
difference.
I cannot speak to you in English. It doesn't apply to you.
Mansur,
It doesn't apply.
don't run away. You do not understand the conceptual difference.
Listen,
When you say Son of God, we are talking about what is God in Himself. When you say Jesus, we are talking about Son become human.
forget
So
the human. Before he became human,
Then he's not dependent. The language does not apply to
wait,
him.
wait.
He is self-existent.
so he doesn't need the Father for him to exist.
But again, you say need.
Yeah,
These
that's-
words are not applicable
Exactly.
to God.
So he doesn't need the Father for him to
The
exist.
Son of God. No, see, we don't know what's going on.
Either he needs him or he doesn't. Simple.
You're trying to be God.
Okay, look, listen.
You think you know what is
You
going on.
are a man of intelligence and logic and philosophy, as you said earlier.
know what?
Either the Son of God needs the Father or he doesn't. That's the only two options. Which one is it?
The word need is not applicable to God.
I'm not talking about God, I'm talking about the Son.
Son is God.
So he either needs the Father or he doesn't.
Using the same language, you're using the need language. Say it's
Suddenly, the language need doesn't apply. The word independent doesn't apply. Do you know why? Shall I tell you why?
Okay,
Let me tell you why.
We're going
Okay.
across each other.
Let me tell you why. Let me
You
tell you
don't
why.
understand what I'm saying.
No, I'll tell you why.
I
The
think-
reason why you don't answer, because you know if he needs the Father, then he cannot be God. If he doesn't need the Father, then there are two gods, independent gods. It's a catch-22 situation. You can't win. It's a lose-lose situation. That's why you have been taught by your priests to avoid this question by saying, we can't use this language.
You're running away. I said the word need and independence, and they are not applicable to God. You didn't hear me. You hear me. Think about what I'm saying.
I did think about it. I've thought of it for more than 20 years, my friend.
No, you never thought about it. Son,
And you're not the first one I've spoken
son
to
becoming-
on this issue.
Son becoming human being. When you talk of Son, Jesus Christ,
Okay.
the human being,
Okay.
then these questions are good. But when you talk
Does he have a will?
When you talk of just
Does the Son have a will? Not the Jesus, the human.
Person.
Does the Son have a will?
person.
Okay.
now we're changing topic.
No. On the same question about one God. Is the Son, his will, in agreement always, or can he disagree with the Father's will?
They're one.
No, they're not one. They have different wills.
There cannot be.
How many wills do they have? One will?
It's a unity.
Does the Son have a will? Does the Father have a will?
Yeah. It's a person. Person means having will.
Good. So can the Son disagree with the Father?
No,
Why not?
because they're one. You see, you got my answers and.
Look. So the Son
Mansur,
is not.
You're trying to think.
So basically, now we're getting somewhere. The
trying
Son
to
is not able to disagree with the Father's will. Not able.
Again,
So he's not sovereign.
see,
He's not independent.
God-
He's not absolute.
God is not able to
Not God.
contradict himself.
Not God. The Son. So we have a
Now you're running
Son.
away. I'm saying, who is God? Father, Son.
I am
Holy
now
Ghost.
going to develop this for you. See how much you have been taught. The Son has a will, and he's unable to disagree with the Father because they have the same nature. Is that why?
I'm saying there is no disunity in God.
Listen.
But you're saying
Is
what
the
that
Son-
means- So can God become a human being? Tell me, can God?
Listen.
Oh, no, listen.
You are
Can
talking
God-
about God.
You're talking-
I'm answering. I am
My answer
answering.
is
I'm
to
answering.
respond.
Oh, you,
Okay. Can God become a human being?
yes, I'm answering.
Yes, answer.
So God, the Creator, becomes the created.
No, you never become the creator.
Is a human being created or uncreated?
Jesus was uncreated.
Am I talking about Jesus? Did you ask me about Jesus, or did you say God becomes a human
okay,
being?
I thought you were talking about Jesus.
Right. So
But that's
can
what
the
I'm here for.
Creator become the
That's what
created?
I'm here for. I'm talking
Okay. Now
about
listen.
Jesus.
Can the infinite become finite? Can the all-knowledgeable become ignorant? That's what you're asking me. And you studied logic and philosophy.
God can never cease to be God.
Wait. You said earlier you have understanding of logic and philosophy. So now tell me, what's wrong with this question? Can the infinite become finite?
Are we talking about God or the infinite?
Excuse me.
Define infinite.
You
What
said,
is infinite?
you asked me a question. Can
I'm asking you a
God
question. What is-
become human? Human is creation, limited, dependent, finite. God is the creator. You're asking, can God become finite?
You change.
I didn't change
Fine.
anything. I'm answering your question.
He can-
Is that what you're asking me?
He can really take the form of a finite human being.
So the infinite can become finite and remain infinite. Very logical.
Yeah, God can.
Very logical.
Why you not? Because you
Yeah.
don't know what infinity is.
Does infinity means it's finite?
You can derive.
What's the difference between infinity and finite? Tell me, please.
Now you change. I'm explaining.
I'm not changing. Explain. What's the difference between infinity and finite?
God can create human beings, right?
No. Just this concept. Infinity and finite. You are a man
listening.
taught in
You
logic and
keep on
philosophy.
changing.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I am focusing on the ridiculousness of a belief in more than one God. So,
you're mixing up
infinite and finite, what's the difference between
You're
them?
mixing up two things.
Excuse me, what's the difference between them?
I'm explaining everything to you.
No, just this.
Come on, let me explain. Not just this. You want to understand that.
No, can you
I have
explain
to-
the difference between finite and infinite?
You going to step 10, you have to understand step first.
No, Professor, can you tell me,
I'm trying
in
to
simple
tell-
terms, the difference between finite and infinite? Take from step 1 to 10. Go ahead.
God can create human beings. God can create. God cannot do anything which is logically self-contradictory, which means creation is not a logical self-contradiction in God.
So Jesus was the creation. That's what we've been telling all along. Thank you for admitting that.
See, let me explain. Now let me
Explain.
I just
Maybe it's not that. Explain.
So you agree that when God creates a human being, it's not a logical self-contradiction in God. God can do anything that is not logically self-contradictory.
Carry on.
Therefore, God can take the real form of that which is not self-contradictory,
Like,
like becoming a man.
it's not self-contradictory. How does that follow logically? Hang on. When you say God takes a form, is He creating that form? Is God creating that form? No, I'm talking about.
You're not understanding.
I'm asking you simply.
He takes
When He takes the human form, is that human form creation?
No,
It's not. Okay. So it's not human, real human then.
he is really a human being because God can do that.
What is the difference between
God
the?
has the power to take any form God wants. He has the power.
So
You
if
don't
God,
understand that.
so in your belief, if God takes the form of a tripod, and this tripod, what would be the difference between these
When
two?
you talk to God, ask God.
No.
We know that God became a human. Let's talk about Jesus Christ.
Listen,
I'll
listen.
tell you that.
If God, in your belief, takes the form of a real tripod, and this is another tripod, what will be the difference between these two?
No, you're talking contrary to fact. I didn't claim. You're having a straw man. I didn't say God became this or that.
If He
I
does,
said God
if
became...
He takes that
I
form.
said you attacked that point. I said God became Jesus Christ.
Sorry?
Jesus Christ. God became Jesus Christ.
No, when He took the form of a man, that man and you, for example, what's the difference between the form He
He
took?
created, he is not. That's the difference.
So the man that He became
He's
is
a real human being.
real human being?
Because God can do that.
What?
He's a human like
Okay.
anybody.
Okay, so real human being. So when we talk about the Son of God, before He became a form of a human, the Son, yeah? Does He have the power like absolute God?
He has all the powers that are God's powers.
Right. Can He destroy the Father if He so wanted?
See, again asking you, is like saying, you're asking me a self-contradiction.
How is it self-contradictory?
Because you're asking me, can God commit suicide? That's nonsense.
No, I didn't say. Listen carefully. I did not say can the
That
Son.
is suicidal.
Listen carefully. I did not say can the Son destroy Himself. That would be contradictory. Affirming the Son is all-powerful. I'm talking about another person who is not the Son. Can the Son annihilate the Father from existence?
No,
Does He have the power?
That will be suicide.
Does He have the power?
Son of God is God. He cannot commit suicide.
Wait. Not Him.
That's not
Don't you get
that.
it? I am not talking about the Son committing suicide.
Ask you a question because
I am not asking you
Allah is
whether the Son
Allah is
is.
the Father of
Don't listen to
Israel.
him. It's the background noise.
You got to be very careful.
Listen.
I know what he's saying.
Allah is
Background. Ignore the background noise.
I know.
last week you said
I am asking
3 years old.
not about the Son destroying the Father, the Son.
Rebecca was
That will be self-contradictory.
Muhammad.
I am asking
Why will that be
because if you affirm the Son is absolute, that means He's all-powerful. So you cannot say, is He all-powerful enough to live and all-powerful enough to die at the same time? Self-contradiction. I am not asking about self-contradiction about the Son.
I told you.
I am asking you about someone else called the Father.
Maybe I'm pregnant.
These people have so much hatred.
So now he's asking him about Jesus.
You realize what I'm saying?
He forgot to read
Ignore him. Background noise, too much background noise. Do you know why they're coming? Do you know why? They're coming to help you.
Father of Israel.
If you don't need them, then tell them I don't need you. Tell them I don't need you. Just tell them I don't need you.
Can you make it louder a bit?
Right. So now tell me,
The question,
does the Son have the power to destroy the other person the Father.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's a logical contradiction
How?
within God.
How? Tell me how. How is my question logically fallacious?
Because you don't know what God's Son is like.
Sorry?
The Son loves the Father loves the Son.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't say whether he wants to or... I am saying, does he even possess the power?
If I say